Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Andrew Krause. I'm one of the co-founders here at inventRight. We're going to be doing a full hour of Q&A. I'll ramble a little bit while we wait for people to file in. I already got a bunch of questions in the chat here, so we'll make sure to hit those. I'll try to answer them in order if I can. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. Anything I share with you today should not be considered legal advice. Please consult your attorney if you're looking for legal advice. Also, I should emphasize that we guide people to license their products. And the beautiful thing about that when you're licensing is you're tapping into that big company's money, that big company's workforce, and that big company's existing distribution. So if they're already in 30,000 stores, you can be in 30,000 stores. So licensing is amazing. You don't need to raise money, don't need to hire employees, and you don't need to try to beg a retailer to carry your product because, to be honest with you, they don't really want to carry a company's product if they only have one product. They like to go with vendors that have, 10, 50, 100, thousands of products sometimes. We had one of our coaches license to a company that has over 9,000 products, which is craziness, isn't it? So I'm going to be answering your questions today because there's a lot of misperceptions about licensing and questions about licensing. So feel free to type your questions into the chat. So I'll just go ahead and get started. And again, my name is Andrew Krause. I co-founded inventRight with Stephen Key 22 years ago, and we've been coaching and mentoring inventors ever since. If you go to inventRight.com, inventRight.com, on the upper right-hand corner, we have a ton of free resources. You can check those out. While you're there, you could also check out our testimonial page. I'm very proud of what we have helped our students do over the years. I give them massive amounts of credit because they did the work, but we guided them to do it. So let's jump in. If you, I'm echoing very badly, my 2 cents was saying. Anybody else saying I'm echoing? Sometimes it's just one person. Let's see. Anybody else? Nobody else is typing I'm echoing my 2 cents. So, okay, here, Ethan says they're fine. Hill Dog says, I don't hear an echo. You're really blurry today, but not echoing. Okay, Bev. Well, I had a lot to drink before I came on today, so that's why I'm blurry. Or maybe you did. I'm just kidding. My video looks good. It could be the quality of your internet connection. It sounds like everybody's good. So my 2 cents, you just need to change something there and you should be good. Okay, let's jump in. Arturo has the first question. As you guys know, I love doing these rapid fire questions and answers. You guys always have great questions. And you guys tell me, unless you're lying to me, you say I have great answers. And you probably wouldn't hang out if you didn't think I did. So let's go for it. Arturo said, I found one product out there similar to my idea, but it's a cheap plastic version. Mine is better quality aluminum product. I understand I can improve upon an existing product. Correct. So a couple of things to note here. This perception that every product that a company does, they're going to patent, that's ridiculous. A company might have 1,000 products. They're going to patent every product they do? No. So if a product isn't patented and they come up with this gadget or gizmo, yeah, of course you can do an improvement because they didn't even patent the base product. And that's very, very common. Now, if your product is exactly the same, but you're just making out a better quality, and that product's been out there more than a year, and either them and or other people are selling it, that's public domain. Anybody can do that product now. If they didn't get a patent and nobody else did, that's public domain. But you can always patent an improvement, right? And so, you're saying that there's a cheap plastic version, but yours is an aluminum. I mean, how much better does it make it? Does it make it a completely new type of product? Where I'm just making up stuff, guys, but it was like a dollar store product before, but now it's a quality product, or maybe that was a big problem. It was too cheap or fall apart. Might be very valid, but this perception that you can't license products that aren't patented is incorrect. If you came to them with a new product and they signed a licensing agreement, they have to pay you a royalty regardless. It doesn't have to be dependent on the patent. Now, a lot of licensing agreements, they specify it's dependent on the patent, but We get plenty of students that we guide to do deals, and the company's like, we don't care about patents, and they agree to that in the licensing contract. They're still going to have to pay you royalties. So Arturo, if you did a product and it's better because you're using a new material and you believe that's enough for them to be intrigued by it and want to license it, great. But if it's just the material, like let's say making it out of aluminum causes a problem and you change something about it. Well, I put a hinge over here, or I bent it this way, and you get protection on that, and they want to sell this product. Can you still do a licensing deal? Absolutely, you can. Now, I haven't seen your particular product to know if it would make sense. So when we talk, we're talking generically, Brandon said, hey, Andrew, could you please elaborate on comparative analysis as a second page of a sell sheet? What should it include? Any missteps to avoid? Do you have any examples? So what we teach at InventRight to our students and to the public is that when you are sending something to a company, a potential licensee, you're the licensor as the inventor, and it always confuses people early on. And the company, which is usually a brand or a manufacturer, they sell products in retail stores or equivalent if it's a industrial product. They're called the licensee. So the inventor is the licensor. Company that licenses it and agrees to pay royalties is the licensee. Okay, so what you want to do when you're presenting your product to licensees is help them understand your product in 6 seconds. Very few of you that I've seen sell sheets from accomplish that. Our InventRight students, we insist, and the coach helps our students accomplish that. They need to understand in 6 seconds. Sometimes you're going to include a video, which might be anywhere from 5 to 60 seconds max. And if it's a video, just a video, and sometimes it's a supplement to the sell sheet, sometimes it's instead of a sell sheet, you don't want to lose them in the first 10, 15 seconds so they watch the whole 60 or 30 or whatever it is. But if it's a sell sheet, you want to help them understand this product in 6 seconds and its benefit, because that's what you're really selling is benefits. So what that kind of looks like, it's a 1-page, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, right? I'm not going to hold one up here. I got a bunch of notes on there. But it's 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It's going to be sent as a PDF, right? So it's 8.5 inches by 11.5, whatever frickin' that size is. And you're going to send it as a PDF. Big benefit statement at the top, few bullet points, picture of the product, contact information at the bottom. Maybe it's a before and after. Maybe it's a storyboard. Whatever it is, it's accomplishing, I get it, in 6 seconds, okay? Now, that's our traditional approach. That's the approach we've been teaching for 22 years. That's the approach that works. Our other co-founder, my business partner, has been talking about sometimes you can have a second. We have always said historically, over 22 years, never, ever more than 1 page. Now, there's always exceptions. No, like you're not trying to raise vulture capital. You don't want a 20-page slide deck. I'm going to show you everything. They don't have time for that. If you send that stuff, you will not be successful with license. They don't have time for that. You want to intrigue them. You're going fishing and you're leaving some information out. Not the benefit of the product. You're not teasing them. You want them to know what the product is. So that's done with a sell sheet. And that's all we've ever advised, in addition to maybe a short video. Okay. Now, Steven, our other co-founder, has been talking about lately, if you were to do a second sheet, which we have in the past, like forbade our students, they're like, oh, I got 2 pages. I'm like, nope, only 1 page. And we're not actually changing that. We're not saying you should make a 2-page sell sheet because we don't believe you should. But if you did a competitive analysis on the second page and showed these other products and then had your unique point of difference on that second page, here's 5 other products in this space, and here's why I think mine would compete. Now, it's not always what you think. Sometimes inventors have this "there's nothing like it" syndrome. So if you showed 5 other products that were kind of somewhat similar, some inventors would go, "Oh, that means my invention is not as unique." No, it shows there's a market, and then you're showing your point of difference. That would be very strong. So that's what we've been talking about literally only for the last 4 or 5 months, about a second competitive analysis page on here are some other players. And a lot of times the marketing managers, they know they're in the pet industry, they're in the automotive industry, or whatever industry you're sending, and they know what those products are. But if you can kind of make it easy for them, put it right in front of them, thinking like, was that other product? And you just show it. that could be beneficial. And always make it, make your product look in the best possible light. And so if they don't even see the second page, because I've had people send me stuff and they're like mentioning stuff, I'm like, I didn't see that on your sell sheet. They're like, second page. I'm like, well, what do we teach you? No second page. I didn't look for a second page. And guess what? Potential licensees quite often won't look for a second page either. But so if you do a competitive analysis and you have a second page on a PDF, sell sheet first page, competitive analysis second page, don't count on them to see it. But I think it's a good idea. It's something that Steven's been talking about for 4 or 5 months now. I think it's a good idea. Hopefully, Brandon, that helped you out a bit. Roaming Tortoise, who's a regular, is it possible to put too much or little in a PPA so it negatively affect when it is referenced for utility pad when you show the PPA to a potential licensee that you're working with? I really don't think so. I think it's possible to put too little, and I do think it's possible to put too much, but usually the too much won't hurt you. This is the general advice I give. One of the things you want to do when you file a PPA, and this is why our students' provisional patents are far and above better from almost all inventors out there, because they're thinking about the variations, workarounds, improvements. So, you came up with an idea. You're like, this is what it is. This is what it is. And you're creative at one point when you're coming up with the idea, but you lost your creativity because you've been thinking about it for months or years. And now and that's great. This is what it is. Study the marketplace. This is what it is for my sell sheet, for my marketing piece to intrigue them. But you need to think about what else it could be when you file your PPA. And if you include a version of your product, because you want to cover all the bases, you don't want people to be able to work around you, right? If you include a version that's literally only half as good as yours, you're getting obsessed. You're going too far with it. But in a version that's 70% as good, 80, 90, 100, just as good, but just a different way of doing it, throw all that in your PPA. You should be doing that. But if you start including versions that are half as good, where if your product is on the shelf and your other version of it was on the shelf that you put in your PPA, no one would want to buy this other version. This one's obviously so much better in so many ways. Then you're wasting your time getting obsessive with throwing too much stuff in a provisional patent application. It's good to have some nice line drawings in there that you can do yourself. You can actually put pictures in there. There are no formal requirements for a provisional patent application. You could scribble with the crayon and they would accept it. Do you want to do that? Absolutely not. So, is there a risk on putting too little in? Yes. If you don't, and this is what most inventors do, and this is why our students are better than most inventors in protecting their ideas, they're including those variations, workarounds, improvements. So if you didn't do that, you would be including too little. Okay. So you're saying, is it going to screw you up when it's referenced for a utility patent or when you show the PPA to a potential licensee? So those are two different things. So when you have a PPA and you get interest from a company, but you haven't filed a full utility yet, and the patent office doesn't look at your PPA. So people are like, oh, my PPA got granted. I'm like, it gets granted every single time. If you paid your fee and you put your address there, you could scribble on a piece of paper with crayon, they would accept it. So realize they don't look at it, and that's perfectly fine. But you want to have done a good job. So when you put your stake in the sand, this is when I filed my PPA, that you covered as much as you possibly could. Now, if you come up with something later, you talk with the company and they want to do a slightly different here or there, and you're like, oh, I'm going to add that. Your attorney, when you file a full utility, can put that in there, and it wasn't in your PPA. You can also file another PPA and put it in there. And then when you file a full utility, you can reference both PPAs. Each PPA is only $75 for you to file if you're a micro entity. So, but when you show it to a company, they're a marketing manager. They're not a patent professional. If it looks nice, that's a good thing. It doesn't look like a kindergartner do the drawings, and you get some nice line drawings in there. They don't need to look perfect or anything, but so we advise our students to put some line drawings in there. They don't have to be done by a patent illustrator because that will cost you an arm and a leg, but just some nice line drawings. Some of you can do that yourself. Some of you can pay a few bucks to some folks, freelancers, to do that for you. That's a nice thing to do. So you just want it to look good for the marketing manager. And they may send it to their patent attorney or what have you. So you want it to look good for that as well. But I've never. Here's the deal. Yes, if you put something in your PPA, you're protected from that date. Okay. Now, if you later file a utility and you didn't put it in there earlier and you put it in later, you're protected from when you file the utility. Or if you file another provisional, you're protected from that date. Okay. I've never had, the only time anybody's going to ever be looking at your provisional patent is if the company you license to is making a ton of money, okay, and somebody wants to challenge it, and it's getting crazy here, that 1 year is the issue. So they're only going to be looking at the patent. And if for some reason, like millions are being made, which is great, I shouldn't say it for some reason, if millions are being made, and somebody's out there trying to challenge it, because, and they're going to look at the patent. Only if that year is an issue that they came up with something in that period of time would anybody ever look at the provisional. I've never, ever seen that happen with our students. We've had students in over 65 countries. It could, but that's one of those things, like, it is what it is. You file your provisional, you cover those variations, you do a kick-ass job like most inventors don't do, and you cover the variations, workaround improvements, and you can file another provisional along the way. Oh, crap, they mentioned this, and I came up with an improvement. Well, I'm not ready to file a full utility because this deal ain't done yet. So I'm going to file another provisional. I'm going to take that existing provisional, has A and B in it. I'm going to file another provisional number 75. I'm going to add C. So I'm protected from C from this date. So hopefully that was a helpful roaming tortoise. If you guys want to type in your first names, you're welcome to. So I don't have to read the handles, but either way is perfectly fine. DevC333. Hi, Andrew. I have a company who I thought was really interested, and they went silent. Very common. What you mean by silent? Let's see. I followed up after 10 days. Okay, that's not very long. By leaving a phone message. Okay, nobody responds to phone messages. How long should I wait before sending an email and calling again? I mean, I would typically wait, 2 or 3 weeks before sending a follow-up email, and don't expect them to listen to that voicemail. Don't worry if you left a voicemail, but follow up with them again, and just say, I'm here to help, here to answer any questions. Just want to know what your process is and when I might be able to hear back. And if you have any questions at all, I'm here to help. So it's really kind of, you're reaching out saying, I'm here to help, and reminding them. Whenever you do that, always forward the past email. So if you send the sell sheet, forward the past one. So they're not digging through their emails looking for stuff. And they can see, oh, yeah, he sent this to me 2 weeks ago. Oh, crap, I've been so busy. Okay, I'm going to get back to him. Say, I'm going to send it to my boss, and I'll get back to you in a couple weeks or whatever. So be there to help, not pestering them, but offering help, and you're just reminding them that they need to get back to you when you do that. So that's just a basic, simple way. Very normal. It's funny, when people are reaching out to make a connection via email, via the phone, via LinkedIn, they're okay. Like, oh, I haven't heard a response back yet. Like, they had to message them a couple times on LinkedIn, or then they tried email, then they tried phone, and they got there. But once they say okay via LinkedIn, via email, via phone, you send me the sell sheet, I think the average inventor that's new to this has unrealistic expectations. Like, they send it to me. So when I send it to them, like the next day, they'll be getting back with their thoughts. That's an incorrect assumption. And there's too much impatience there. Like, they're like, send it to me. They haven't looked at it yet. It doesn't mean they're not interested. It doesn't mean they are interested. It might mean that you sent it, they got a bunch of emails come on top of that, and they didn't even freaking look at it, Now, if they did look at it, and they're really intrigued by it, they're going to be emailing you back pretty soon. Very rarely do they call. They do that sometimes. Most of the time, they're going to email. So pay very close attention to your email, and don't use degraded email services like Hotmail. I'm not trying to promote Google or anything like that, because I'm not a fan in a lot of ways, but the Gmail service is pretty reliable. So I've had some people that had Hotmail addresses, and they followed up with the company, and they said, well, I just followed up with you and see if you're interested. They're like, what are you talking about? We sent you like 3 emails over the last 3 weeks, and you didn't respond to a single one. And they're like, they look in their spam. It's not there. It's nowhere. It's not a promotion spam. This was with Hotmail. This happened twice. This is quite a while ago, actually. And so don't use, an email address where you're subscribing to a million other things where you could lose an important email, use an email address you're just using for inventing and check it religiously and don't subscribe to anything on that. Check the promotions, check the spam. You don't need to have your important email coming back from a company get lost in all the crap you subscribe to. Use a dedicated email and do not use Hotmail for that. And don't even use Hotmail for friends and family unless you want to lose friends and family because they send you important email and you're like, well, I didn't see that. They're just going to think you're a flake. Let's see. So yeah, when people get permission to send the sell sheet, you will still not get an immediate response. Don't think that you won't need to follow up 1, 2, 3, 4 times after sending it. And they gave you permission. And I get people all the time saying, oh, they were really apologetic. I'm sorry. I've been so slammed. And so the way of not sending those emails too often, reach out to more. Then by the time you come back around, let's say you got 30 companies, you're not like pestering every 2 minutes, and always offer help. Okay. So hopefully that kind of sets the stage. Margie said, hi, Andrew. I know Gene Quinn. Gene Quinn is the patent attorney we teamed up with to write our smart IP software, which guides our students and non-students. You can buy it separately on inventRight.com to file a provisional patent application. Now with that software, I think the software is great. We worked very hard with Gene to create a good piece of software. But it doesn't include, unless you're a student of ours, the coach to guide you through that as well, to brainstorm variations and things like that. But it does help you write the provisional. So Margie said, hi, Andrew. I know Gene Quinn highly recommends using line drawings in a PPA, but if we have a very basic invention and photos would show it well, do you think photos are okay? Black and white, color, things. There are no rules, Margie. Plenty of people have used photos. They could be black and white. They could be color. Sometimes black and white could have more contrast. Sometimes, back in the day, and I still have people do this, you can tape, you can find a glass table and tape, like you could print a picture of something up on regular paper. Okay. You could print a picture of something up. Maybe it's kind of like your product. Maybe it's a picture of your product, and you could tape it under a glass table, shine a very bright light up underneath it, like with a lamp. And then you could put a piece of paper on top of the glass table and you could actually trace it and make some changes. So I've seen people do that. People that don't even have that good at drawing skills can actually trace, like, let's say the base product is like a certain dog toy, but yours is a little different. You could trace that and then you could change the additional piece and add this piece over here. But you can just include pictures as well. When you have somebody that's not trained in understanding provisional patents and things, like a marketing manager, if they see line drawings, they don't know the difference between that and a regular patent drawings. That's why it's kind of nice to do line drawings. They kind of look like patent drawings, right? Although there's no formal requirements. If you have patent drawings in a full utility patent, need to be done just a certain way. They won't accept them. But in a PPA, you can do whatever. You could throw pictures in there, color, black and white, crayon sketches. Don't do that. You could make your own line drawings. Like I said, there are some people that will use software and it will turn it into a line drawing and then they erase around it. That can look good, not look good. You can also show some images to some people and you could pay them a few bucks. You can throw a rock and hit an artist these days to do some line drawings for you. So yeah, you can legally put black and white or color photos in there. And, I haven't really found it. Sorry, my stupid watch is talking to me. I haven't really found it to be an issue. I haven't seen like a company go, oh, your PPA looks amateur. Like, we're not going to do a deal with you. No, if it's written up well and use some nice pictures in there, that is perfectly fine as well. But it creates an extra aura of professionalism with the line drawings. But to me, if you're going to do a good sell sheet or do a PPA with line drawings or not, I'd say don't worry about the line drawings or not. Throw some pictures in there. Nobody's even going to want to look at the stupid PPA if you didn't intrigue them with your sell sheet, with your marketing piece on the benefits of the product. So this getting too obsessed about provisional patents, people way overemphasize their importance. At the same time, I also told you guys earlier, most inventors do a piss poor job of writing their provisional. Our students do a kick-ass job. The one major thing, just because we tell you do the variations, workarounds, improvements. And if you get out of your head a little bit and you're talking to a coach and they're giving you examples, you're like, oh, okay, I could do that, but you can also do that on your own. Let's see. Tony says, Mondays are my most favorite time of the week. Thank you so much for giving us your time so freely. You are the man. Thank you, Tony. That was nice of you to say that. And then Tony said, is Smart IP a pay-per-use software, or do we buy the software? So it's not. So the one on our site is $99, and that is a one-time use. So you can file one provisional patent with it. Now, when our students join and they're with us for 6 months of coaching, 6 months of alumni membership, that entire year, they get access to use Smart IP. And to be honest, once you use it a couple times, you probably don't need it anymore. You get the general gist of how to file a provisional patent. But the Smart IP is for non-students, the one-time use, $99. And then if you're a student of ours, coaching student, you get it to use it during your entire membership. But when you're not a member anymore, it's not like you keep the software, but you won't really need it anymore at that point if you're a student of ours. You'll be like, oh, I get it. I filed 2 with this. I understand the gist of it. You're going to kind of get it. Let's see. And that's a big part of everything we do. Everything we do, we're empowering you. So at some point you can say, I get it, guys. I don't need you anymore. But you got to get that real life experience, filing a provisional, making a sell sheet. Even if a graphic designer is making it, you still need to come up with the marketing with your coach, making your list of companies, reaching out on the phone, email, and LinkedIn, doing this stuff. And there's lots of little, like you guys have asked a bunch of little questions that are, I'm not saying this right, but are unimportant. You asked a bunch of questions that I answered, and I said, I've never seen that be an issue. So I gave the answer because it's worrying you. I need to give you the answer. But also it's like, oh, Andrew gave me some perspective. Like he's never seen that be an issue. He's never seen, for example, anybody come back and have to reference their provisional. So if you didn't do your provisional right, but you did your full utility, only if there's that 1 year and there's some big debate about the patent and what it protects, would you ever look at that? And he's telling me he's never seen that with students in 65 countries over 2 decades. He's never seen any of that ever happen. So I was getting obsessed over that. Okay, I still got to do a good job. I'm going to take his advice and do the variations, workaround improvements. I'm not going to be overly worried about if this provisional isn't perfect, because the attorney is going to file a full utility and get all that important stuff in there. So that's an example of knowing what is important and what isn't important, And when our students are actually working on their projects, it really sinks in because it's their own project. Like you guys are asking kind of generic questions because we can't disclose your products, nor should you disclose your products publicly here. But when you're working with your coach is like, no, I think you find more companies here. I think this is how you respond to that email and sort of thing, So it's getting help within the real world, not theoretical questions. And you will ask questions then too. And the coach will be like, yeah, that's not a problem, but this is a problem. Let's do this right. So it gives you perspective. It's experiential learning is what I call it. Let's see what else we got here. Alence says, I have an idea for a new kind of vape. A lot of people working on that sort of thing. My issue is all the companies I find are based in China with Chinese employees. I don't imagine they do open innovation. Should I completely drop this idea? I don't know if you're right about that. So you don't license to manufacturers. I'm going to use certain words to explain this. You don't license to a contract manufacturer. So there's all sorts of, it's kind of changed over the years. For instance, on Amazon, there's these Chinese companies, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Amazon has had 24/7 training to train people and companies in China to dump all this crap on our market. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. They train them on how to do this. And we know this because you look at Amazon posting, it's all this terrible Chinglish. And it's like, oh my God, why didn't they pay somebody like 2 minutes to proofread this? But they just didn't bother. So, is that a real, are those same guys that are the Chinese companies that are dumping stuff on Amazon? Are they getting distribution in Bed Bath and Beyond or Walmart or Target? No, they're probably not. But they are selling direct to customers on websites like Amazon and eBay. And that wasn't the case in the past. In the past, most of the stuff that was coming from China, it would be Americans that would import something and they'd slap their name on it and then they just sell it on Amazon. Okay. A lot of these big companies that you're licensing to are more than that. Yeah, they might be big on Amazon, but they also got brick and mortar and they got multiple distribution channels, right? So, I'll give you an example for phone cases, okay? Because I think vapes and phone cases have some similarities. So there's some really big companies that do phone cases. I remember the gentleman, I ran an inventors group for 14 years. I've been doing InventRight for 22, and I met the president of Spec. Spec is a phone case company. They're huge now. Back in the day, he spoke to my little inventors group with like 80 people back in the day. And he was just kind of getting started. So they're a brand. And they're very well known. And Belkin is a brand, and Otterbox is a brand. These are all brands. And and they're all getting their crap made in China too, but they're an American brand, or maybe some of them aren't, I don't know, but they're an American brand. Those are the companies you want to license to. You don't want to license to just some Chinese company that's making stuff and dumping on the market. There's a ton of those on Amazon selling phone cases and probably vapes too. Okay. I think we're realizing now that the vapes have some health issues, but maybe some people would argue that. But I think an edible is probably safer, but who knows? So, the Chinese companies, are you going to license to a Chinese company? No. Now, there was an exception, I remember, where we had this French Canadian. He was actually living in the Yukon, which is the other part of Canada. And he licensed a line of camping products to a Chinese company. Now, this Chinese company wasn't just one that dumped crap on Amazon and made postings with terrible Chinglish. They had distribution in all sorts of retailers. So that's fine. That's a legitimate company to license to because they have distribution at big box stores and other retailers. And I remember an Israeli student, he licensed an entirely new toilet. I'm not kidding, guys, a toilet to a Chinese company. Now, this Chinese company was selling toilets, I forget, in Home Depot or Lowe's. So they're qualified. But there's still, you don't see that much still to this day in the brick and mortar. You see it on Amazon, but you don't see it as much in the brick and mortar. That's still changing. So, Alens has a vape. Should I bother? The answer is, if there are, which there are, I know there are. If there are, I mean, my wife had one of her girlfriend's husband who I met. I didn't really know him, and I met him, and he was talking about he had a vape company. He had a unique, different type of vape. He was an American. Did he get his stuff made in China? Yeah, but he was an American company, American funded, and he was manufacturing, and he raised money too from angel investors to manufacture and sell this vape. Those are the guys you license to, and bigger ones. Not this is just an individual guy, a small company, and others might be bigger. So look at where they're based, and if you see they're an American company or a Canadian company, European company, you don't care they're getting it made in China. I mean, I'm not saying you don't care. I'm just saying a lot of people are to keep costs down. Still, I think that's going to change. We'll see how it plays out over the next 3, 4, 5 years. A lot of interesting stuff going on in China. But as of right now, it's still a lot of stuff is getting made over there. So it's like a brand, right? So with Spec, with Belkin, with Otterbox, those are brands of cell phones. But if you go on Amazon, you'll see probably 5,000-6,000 companies that are generic selling phone cases because a lot of people don't care about that. Now, I do think there are people that care about vapes. If you go to a head shop, I guarantee you there's branded vapes in there. Now, do they also have some crap they bought from China directly that doesn't have a brand behind it, doesn't stand behind it, quality or whatever? Yeah, they might have some of that too, of course. But I'm not convinced, I haven't studied that all the companies out there are Chinese companies. I'm not convinced of that. But yeah, if they're in China, they don't have distribution other than Amazon, probably not a good one to license to. They don't really restrict intellectual property, but I would be shocked if that was the case. So ALENS, I wouldn't kick it to the curb. If there's legitimate vape companies, which there are, I'll try to license to them, definitely, without a doubt. My 2 cents says, deeper into Arturo's question. What was Arturo's question? My memory is very short here. Arturo, he found a product that was similar to his, but he has a version that's in aluminum and it wants to improve upon the product. So my 2 cents is, deeper into Arturo's question, is the material a product is made of part of the patent? If I copy a plastic shoehorn exactly, but make it out of stainless steel, am I infringing on their patent? So guys, patents aren't protecting. This is why I like to explain it in layman's terms. Patent attorneys would go, it's a weird way to explain it, but it's a way that I've noticed that people understand. So you're not patenting the invention. I like to say that. Okay, get that in your head. I'm not patenting my invention. I'm patenting pieces of it. So I'm preventing people from doing it a certain way. To patent the entire invention, any variation, all over the place, that would be extremely broad protection. And rarely are you going to get that. So most of the time, you're not patenting the invention. You're patenting this hinge. And hey, without that hinge, this thing wouldn't work very well. Or, to go to my 2 cents and Arturo's question, sometimes it's a material. But in a provisional patent, you don't want to limit yourself to a certain material. Because you could say, you want to have like limiting words. You can have limiting words. That's okay. Then before you finish up that sentence, you want to broaden it out. This is not legal advice, guys. So it's just a lesson here. So it could be this material, this material, this material. And then you do the patent attorney weasel words. That's what I like to call it. Excuse me. This material, this material, this material, but not limited to these materials. So it could be out of any material. So, and if having it out of aluminum or this or that really created additional functionality, but just saying it's a shoehorn, exact same design out of aluminum, if making it out of aluminum provided easier slipping or whatever, but most shoehorns, to use that example, shoehorn's been around forever. I know you guys aren't talking about the shoehorn, but that's been around forever. So there's tons of stuff that's not patented, not protected because it's become public domain, but you can patent your improvements. So the question is, if I change this material, is that enough to patent? It depends. It's a really annoying patent attorney question. Like, you'd have to make a case that this material created all this cool additional functionality and utility. And if it did, yes, maybe, but what's more important than what's patentable, screw the patentability, is it marketable? Does it offer an intriguing enough reason for that inventor to buy this product with yours out of let's just say a shoehorn out of aluminum instead of plastic? Does it really work? Patenting crap that isn't marketable is a waste of time. Is the product more marketable and does it have a clear benefit? And then you look at the details of how you're delivering that benefit and you're trying to protect those pieces. You could protect other pieces that are irrelevant. What's the point? So hopefully that's helpful. When you say, my 2 cents, am I infringing on their patent? What's in their patent? What are the claims? Are they protecting the shape of it? Are they protecting that it's just out of plastic? What are they protecting in their patent? You can't possibly say, yes, that's violating their patent or not without actually looking at it and reading it. And I understand that. But these are great questions, guys. Tony says, if a company rep says no, they don't take outside submissions, is it a bad idea to keep looking for a rep who says it's okay to send him or her our sell sheet? Within the same company. So I think that's what he's saying. I have seen that happen where you talk to one person in the company and they're like, no, we don't accept outside ideas. And then you can talk to another and they're like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. So some companies, like, you can tell the attorneys got to them. And I wouldn't say this is very common at all, where they all give you this very, this is very unusual, very concise answer. It's like, oh, damn, they read him the Riot Act. Any inventor wants to send an idea, you got to tell them no, and you got to tell them no this way. Very rare. You don't normally see that. Now, the only place where it might backfire on you, you send it to Sally. No, we don't receive outside ideas. You went to a marketing manager and they sent it there, and then it got back to Sally, and Sally's like, this a-hole, I already told him no, and now he's trying to go around me and go over here. Well, that can bite you in the butt a little bit, but it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to the gatekeeper, I wouldn't worry about that. They're the gatekeeper, right? And then you go, well, I don't know if they know what they're talking about. You really can't trust gatekeepers when they say yay or nay to that, to be honest with you. So then you reach out to a marketing manager on LinkedIn. They're like, oh, sounds intriguing. You just say it's a good match for their product line, or you tease them a little bit with the product. I have a new cupcake tin that, instantly releases the cupcakes and never sticks, or whatever. And would you be open to look at it? Let's take a look at it, So, but if it's two marketing managers, it might bite you in the butt. And it might be a company, and some of you, when you're new to this, you might not be thinking like this. Maybe you want to send them more ideas. So now you pissed off Sally, and then Sally told Bob, which is the second one you sent it to, yeah, it doesn't sound like you want to listen to me. It's like, come on, he's wasting her time. So that could happen, but I've also seen it work out in a positive way. I've seen but if it's a pretty high level manager, no's usually no. But sometimes you're just going fishing. Like, think about it. If you're just asking if they're open to outside ideas and somebody says no, and then you ask another person if they're open and they say no, nobody's going to get mad at you. It's more like when you send it would be more, okay, let's define this more. If you got permission, you sent a sell sheet and that marketing manager said no, and then you went to another marketing manager and then they brought it into a meeting and they came back to Sally, Bob brought it back. Okay, that's going to piss them off. But asking if they're open to outside ideas, multiple people, I see no harm in that. So I had a brain fart, and I'm just differentiating those two. Okay. If they said, yes, send it to me, they looked at it and they said no to the product, they actually said no to the actual product, you shouldn't be sending it to multiple other people in the company, because they'll probably get back to that same person. And then you might not be able to send more products to that company because they're going to red flag you. But if it's just, are you open to outside ideas, and you ask others, yeah, I don't see any harm in that at all. So sorry I took the long way around to get there. Let's see. McDennett. Hey, Andrew. I have ideas in the kitchen area, an item that doesn't exist, and one in the medical area, an item that doesn't exist. Which would be the best to pursue first? Without a doubt, to get your feet wet would be kitchen. They're very open. They're always looking for new ideas. I would definitely start with kitchen. Medical is tough. I would work on it, but it would be so cool to get the experience with the kitchen. And when you're getting beat up a little bit more with the medical, which you will, and it'll just take longer, it's harder to get to people, you're going to have more experience, and you're just going to weather it a little bit better. Definitely the kitchen first, and then after that, do the medical. We had a student of ours do an insane medical deal. I'm not into the get rich quick and the millions and stuff, but it was in that price range. But they're harder deals to do. Kitchen's like easy. Get your experience there, and then go into medical. And then you get experience with both, right? And after a while, you're like, I love the treasure chest aspect, because medical mean so much money. But wow, kitchen's just so easy and fun, and they're very approachable. I'm getting really better feedback and stuff. And some of those could be big hits too. So get a feel for it, what you like. And it's nice to work in 1, 2, 3 categories, and then commit to maybe 1 or 2, because and I've said this a million times before, but it's always good to note. Let's say you work on a kitchen product and you reach out to 30 companies, but you work on another kitchen product. You're going to look at those 30 you sent to and go, 20 of those 30 would be good for my next one. Great. You got their freaking email. You got their contact info. Just send it. That's great. So once you get in an industry, you can reutilize those relationships and just hit them over and over with new products. So, but let's say you work on a kitchen product. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to medical now, and that's fine. You go to medical, you're going to need to create some of those relationships. And the way you create a relationship is just send your first product. So easy. It's great. So whenever you work on a project, you can get as much traction, you license it or you didn't license it, you're going to go back and try to license it again because you know it makes sense. You always won because you made relationships with the ones that said no. And when they said no, it means you can send another product because they were okay with looking at it in the first place. You don't even have to ask. Sometimes it's okay to ask. But so, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. Paul said, hi, Andrew. If a contract says we'll get paid for all new versions of a product, do we still need to own improvements? Isn't that essentially what that is? So, so there's two different things you could differentiate. I was helping somebody with a contract today. You can say that you own all improvements to this product, right? This is a widget. This is the widget, and you own all improvements to this. So then the question is, if you own the improvements, do they need to get permission to sell those improvements, or can they automatically sell those improvements and get the same royalty under the same contract? And that all depends on how you write it up. So yes, you need to own all improvements. Yeah, you want to specify that you own improvements and that you get paid for those. And either you need to give permission to sell those, or they automatically get the rights for that, or you define it. Like within this realm, you would automatically own the improvements and you would pay me the same royalty. That's pretty common. Or you need permission from me on any improvements to sell them. Now, we're not talking about a color or a slight change. We're talking about improvements, significant improvements. Johnny said, hey, would or should you have done, should I have done my invention idea to prepare for if I was to be a member at InventRight? I think the InventRight coaches get people on track so much. It's like you could kind of be all over the place, and their job is to get you wrangled and get you focused, and then you spend 2 to 6 hours a week staying really focused. So I don't think you need to have gotten a bunch of stuff together. Now, if you want to, you could give it your best stab at your list of companies. Most people don't really know how to do that. You could give it your just something really crude on what you think the marketing should be, or with a benefit statement, a few bullet points. Go look at all the other products in the space. Go, this is mine. Mine does this better, and be knowledgeable about the other products in the space. You don't need to have any of that stuff, though. You could just join. The coach is going to guide you to do that. If you got some of it done, they're like, oh, great, and they can guide you from there. So when we coach people, we start you off with wherever you are. So you could be super advanced, you could be super rudimentary. It doesn't matter. We start you off with wherever you are. Some people go, well, I've done that and that and that. I'm like, great. We'll just start you off at a higher level. You'll get even more higher level stuff. Other people are like, I'm just starting out. I'm like, great, we'll start you there. So it's completely customized to you. Sometimes people say, Andrew, I've done a sell sheet, I've done a patent, and can you give me a discount? I'm like, no, we're still helping you for half a year, and we're just helping you with more higher level stuff. Maybe we should charge you more. I don't say that, but I joke. But so it's not going to be cheaper because you've done stuff. And, a coach will always tell you, if you did it right, they'll say, wow, you rocked it with this. They'll say, this is half there, but this is off here. You're not going to sign up to get somebody to guide you to sugarcoat things and not tell you the truth. They're always going to tell you the truth. So that's just how we are. Let's see. So yeah, you don't really need to prepare, Johnny, but if you want to do some of those things, there'll be things to prepare before you sign up. Let's see. Okay. Hi, this is J Bell. Hi, Andrew. I'm interested in coaching, but wondering how many current InventRight students are addressing questions to you rather than their coaches. Thank you. It's funny. Sometimes I get InventRight students coming on our live stream that I do on Mondays, or the one with Steven and myself, and they just kind of like to stay connected. But that is a world of difference and that's not a negative thing. When a coach knows your product and is deep into it with you, that advice is better than anything. I do get people sometimes I get students, this is a good story that's going to get at your core concept. Like, oh, why are they coming on here, Andrew? This is a public thing that's for the public. If they're not getting the answer from their coach, and you need to ask them, but a lot of them, they just like hearing from Steven and myself as well. That's why we do a co-founder call once a month with all our students. And we do different things like that. But what was I getting to? I get students sometimes that argue with their coach. This isn't very often, but I get it once in a while. And the coach is like, no, we need to do it this way because this is this. And they're like, but Andrew and Steve said on a video. I'm like, well, Andrew and Steve doesn't know your particular product, and not everything they say applies to 100% of the time. But almost every single time the student needs to talk to me because I said something on a YouTube show and they don't trust that the coach is saying the right thing, I get on with them and I'm like, yeah, I agree with your coach 100%, like 99% of the time. Like, yes, the reason they gave that it's an exception to the rule, they are absolutely 100% right. So our coaches absolutely rock. They're fantastic. That doesn't happen very often, by the way, but I get it sometimes. And if they're doubting their coach, they want to get on with me, I'll verify it. And then they're probably not going to be doubting much more anymore. But we have a negotiation coach. We have a head coach, Terry, Omara, myself, and Steve. We always jump on for things that we're needed for. But usually the coach and our head coach, our negotiation coach, Paul, can handle it just fine. But yeah, I think sometimes we get students on here that like to jump on and just ask a few questions, stay connected, keep in the mindset. It's a little different than one-on-one coaching, Richard said, let me make sure. I lost my track here. Okay. Richard said, I saw a product on Amazon that would work for my product and want to know if I should call the product seller or the people that manufactured it. So he said it would work for his project. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means like it would be a part of his product. Like, what do you need to know? Like a lot of times you're going to look at similar products and go, oh, great. Not only does this product verify they can make that, but it's also selling for $24.95. And my product's going to add this, and it's going to add a couple bucks, but not much. And when a company says, how do we make it? You're going to point and reference those products. So, Richard's question is, should I call the seller or the people that manufactured it? I have no freaking idea, Richard. I don't know why you would want to, but if I knew what the product was, then maybe I'd understand, but I don't think that's necessary. I can't think of many scenarios where that would be necessary. And if a coach was guiding you and they understood it, they could guide you, but they got to understand your product. And that's the big difference between a chat like this and a coach guiding you one-on-one, knowing your product, giving you specifics. So I can't say, I have no idea. I don't think you would call somebody on Amazon that is selling a similar product. I need to know why, like what's your motivation and all that. I can't know without seeing it. But good question. Hilldog said, hey, Andrew, if you have several marketing people at a company on LinkedIn, do you reach out to all of them? If some, how do you choose which one? I think it's okay to reach out to multiple. Once you have somebody that responds and says, yes, send me something, then you should be loyal to that person as long as they're reviewing something. But to reach out to multiple should actually be a key part of your approach. How do you choose one? Usually it's marketing managers. You might choose several, or maybe even a regional sales manager or something might be good too, because they'll always talk to people. Gary said, should we feel free to share our idea on and share media of the invention after the provisional, or should we get NDAs? Okay, to share our idea and share media of the invention. Okay, so he's talking about sharing to a potential licensee, to a manufacturer privately. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do, Gary, but I can tell you what we teach our students. When you file a provisional patent application, it's not a patent, it's a placeholder in the sand where you're protected from the state if you later file a utility and reference it. So that's what most of our students do. Asking to sign, and I'm not going to get into the whole NDA thing because we get to ask that every single time, a couple times. But if you ask all the companies to sign your NDA, you're going to beat your head bloody. They won't do it. And again, the basics of that. What if they get 200 NDIs from inventors a month? They need to have a full-time legal staff to review them. So your PPA, that's your protection. If they want you to sign theirs, just say yes, read it, make sure you're okay with it, and then sign it, but it's usually not protecting you. Don't put that stupid NDA between you and the company. You filed your provisional patent. You're creating a paper trail on what you protected and when and what you're showing to them. So I've never had one of our students get knocked off by a potential licensee. It'll happen one day, but it hasn't happened yet. 22 years. It'll happen one day. But so people are too worried about that. And also NDAs don't protect you as much as you think they do. They really don't. Okay. CL said, I'm an InventRight member. Great. I don't know if they're CL's Academy or premium member, one-on-one coaching. I have my hit list and started making calls. Great. But none of the phone numbers I have connect to a gatekeeper. What should I do to get the correct numbers? Well, first of all, you always want the corporate number. And I don't know if you're an Academy student or so when you reach out, you should be reaching out on LinkedIn. I love old school. I love calling the phone and via email. You should be doing all three. But if you want to start with the phone, I love that. So the phone numbers I have connect to, but none of the phone numbers I have connect to a gatekeeper. Yeah, they do. So, if you call the main 800 number, you're going to get some customer service person. And they say, can you connect me to the corporate number? Oh, sir, what product can I help you with? Is there blenders? Is it this? Is it that? And you're like, no, I need the corporate number. So you can call and ask for the corporate number at the main consumer line, but that's just painful. You can just look it up. You just Google it, XYZ's company corporate website, or corporate phone number too, and find that corporate number and you will find a gatekeeper that you can talk to. Sometimes you can use a combination of techniques we teach on LinkedIn and the phone. Like maybe they're not reaching back out to you on LinkedIn, but you get the name of a couple and you call and you ask for that person, by name. Because the gatekeepers love it when you ask for people by name. So there's all sorts of different techniques you can use. But you need the corporate number, CL. That's what you need. So you need to find their corporate website and find a corporate number, and you can call that number and talk to somebody. And maybe sometimes you ask for an email. Sometimes you ask, they'll put you through their voicemail. If you get lucky, they'll connect you to the person live. That doesn't happen very often these days, at all. Bev said, follow up. The company called me after seeing my sell sheet, expressed a lot of interest, and said they would call me after their big meeting 10 days ago. Okay, I won't fret. I'll just pitch to others. So if they had the big meeting 10 days ago, follow up. How did the meeting go? Did you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? I'm here to help. So that's great, Bev. That's what you want to do. Let's see. Nowhere is their handle. Hey, Andrew, I'm currently trying to finalize and market a patent in the marijuana industry. Any advice on non-conventional industries? Yeah, obviously, there's two types of main patents. There is a utility patent, which is the way something functions and the utility of it. And there's a design patent, the way something looks. Now, there's this other weird patent that we never talk about, and they're called plant patents. So if you had a new strain of marijuana or something like that, you could get a plant patent. But maybe he just has a physical product, like a new bong or a new vape or a new this or a new that. And in that case, I don't really have any other advice. It would just be a patent on the functionality and utility of that product. And you'd file a PPA most likely. But without knowing the exact product, I can't say for sure. But we've had people work on marijuana-related stuff for forever when it was just medical marijuana. But our students are doing everything under the sun, from toys to automotive to garden to kitchen to industrial and commercial products. It's all over the map. So licensing's licensing. Doesn't matter if it's marijuana or anything else. I don't have any particular, I can't give you advice on your particular product or your patent is what you wanted, because I don't know what your product is. How could I give you advice? But I wouldn't say that there's any patents must-dos for a marijuana product as opposed to a kitchen product. There's no differences. There are differences in the product, of course, but it's dependent on the product specifically. Okay. We're going to do a last one here from Will. Hey, Andrew, I have a product idea that snowballed into a whole range of product ideas. Yeah, that happens sometimes. And I've developed a whole line of products. How do you pitch the whole product line to a company? You can really scare them away if you do that. Quite often, it's a good idea to show one and then get permission. Hey, I got a whole line. Maybe you show one and you tease them a bit and you say, I got actually a whole line. If you're not interested in this particular version, I got more. That would probably be the best thing to do. Because like I said, they have 6 seconds to look at your stuff. So when you're showing a whole line, you're probably showing them too much stuff. We get company CEOs, market managers come on with their Bridging the Gap meetings, and they talk to our students, actual companies, and they will say, like, I would feel a little overwhelmed if you did that. Please don't do that. So I would pitch one and then tease them that you've got a line with other products that would fit into this line, but I probably wouldn't show them an entire line. I'm not saying there might not be an exception where that might make sense, but probably not. They just don't have time for it. Everybody's too busy. But once you do that, and they're like, yeah, I'll take a look, be ready to send them something. So McDenon, thank you for responding to my question. Your help's invaluable. J Root said, hey, Andrew, what's the best way to get feedback on a sell sheet from inventRight? I would sign up for our Kickstarter or evaluation program. We have a program where it's just a 90-minute call, and it's either with our head coach, Terry O'Mara. Usually it's with him. Sometimes it's with our coach, Paul, who's amazing. So that would be a great way to get feedback on that, and a whole bunch of other things. And those are cool. It's like a one-time, like 90-minute thing, and you can get a ton of questions answered. I've never people that come out of that. About half of them sign up for the whole program. The other half don't. But when I interview people that didn't, they're like, "Oh, it was amazing." I still benefited from it. So tremendously. So that would be, if you go on our site, click on services. I think it's on the right side menu, and it's like evaluation / kind of kickstart kind of deal. So that, J-Root, that would be the best way to get some feedback. D-Van says, so you use the same wording from the first PPA to include the improvements in the second PPA. Usually when people file a PPA and it has A and B in it, and they're talking to a company, and he's like, well, we don't like this. And you come, oh, I got a solution for that. And before you show it to them, you take that PPA that A and B in it, you just add C. So the first one has A and B. The second one, same exact PPA, adding C. You just take the same provisional, you add to it, and you file it again, and then you show it to the company. So you can do that. So that explains that. Richard, thank you. Hayden, thank you for the kind words. Oh, you're in Belgium. That's cool. Dolly, it's late for you, isn't it? Jesus, like, I don't know what time it is for you, man. It's late. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Dolly said, Terry is awesome. Had a 90-minute call with him last Friday. There you go. So Dolly did it. Dolly did the 90-minute session with Terry. She said it was great. So there you go. If you guys could do me a favor, and you guys could subscribe down below and click on the notification button. Nothing happens. It's not like you start getting spam or something because you subscribe. But we're looking to get to 80,000 subscribers from 60,000. So if you could help us do that, that would be the way for you to say thank you to me for spending a whole hour answering your questions for free. You can also watch more of our YouTube videos, interact, ask questions under some of the videos. And then don't hesitate to check out inventRight.com with our free resources. In the upper right-hand corner, if you go to inventRight.com, click on free resources, you can check those out. I'm burnt. I'm gonna head on out. I've been talking for an hour and 5 minutes. So I wish you guys much success. Hope to see you next Monday. Love to have you guys as a student if you're interested. You can go to inventRight.com, click on Contact Us, and book to talk to Sylvia or Dana. They're both super friendly. Even if you're not ready yet, you could talk to them now. Just say, hey, I'm just kind of investigating, and they'll be totally cool with that. So take care, everybody, and keep inventing. See you guys. Bye.